right, welcome back. Attorneys for Alec Baldwin say they're looking forward to having their day in court after a grand jury in New Mexico indicted the actor with 2 counts of involuntary manslaughter. The charges are in connection with the 2021 fatal shooting on the set of the Western film Rust. Baldwin had been rehearsing a scene and holding the gun that fired live ammunition, killing cinematographer Halyna Hutchins. Baldwin was initially charged a year ago, but those charges were dropped. Here to discuss is defense attorney Misty Marris and stunt coordinator Scott Kasha. All right, good to see both of you. Let's begin with you, Misty. So explain why the charges from last year were dropped, and is it an issue of new evidence to help bring this new indictment?
Yeah, Fred, so here's the path that this case was on, and this has been going on for a while. So last year, the charges were dropped when a special prosecutor came into the case, and then you have fresh eyes on all of the investigation and all of the evidence that had been collected. At that time, they dropped the charges without prejudice. That means they could be revived at any time. Central to that decision was whether or not the gun Alec Baldwin was holding that caused this tragic occurrence had been manipulated or altered prior to the time it was on set. The prosecutor said, we have to investigate this. Now, in the fall, it came to light that there was a forensic expert report generated by the prosecution that found it could only have been discharged if he pulled the trigger. Fast forward, this case goes to grand jury, and now the charges are viable again, and we're on the path towards trial. So that's the path that this case took.
Okay, and so then what will happen now if you're the defense attorneys for Alec Baldwin? They say, okay, they're looking forward to their day in court, but is it in their court to try to establish the activity of that weapon, how it may have been manipulated prior to being handed to Alec Baldwin, or do they simply take the posture of wait and see what the prosecution says about the sequence of events of the handling of that weapon?
Yeah, so there's 2 different legal theories that we see from these new charges. Both are involuntary manslaughter. One charge relates directly to the handling of the gun, negligent use of a firearm. The other relates to being basically recklessness on set. So that's the difference. So the question is, was Alec Baldwin reckless? What did he know? He was also a producer. Something that's going to be attacked by the defense is that during this testing, when this forensic report was generated, it was done with a different gun that was made new parts. It was done with a sample because the original gun was destroyed in the context of testing. So the defense is going to have a lot of fodder to attack the results of that forensic report. And I expect that to be central. In addition to the question, how did live bullets get on the set to begin with? So those are some of the central questions that the defense is going to raise.
Right. Okay. And then Scott, let's talk a little bit more about, the gun. Obviously, it's, it's central to the whole case. Who handled it? What about those live rounds? How did they get there? Who knew about them? When was that discovery made? Remind people, if you could, about the possible sequence of events involving this gun before it would end up in the actor, in this case, Alec Baldwin's hands.
So I feel this was one of the most colossal breakdown of safety protocols, maybe in the history of film. There's a lot of blame to go around, and I feel Alec Baldwin has none of that blame. He's an actor. He's not supposed to know how a gun works. I'm the expert, okay? I'm an armorer. I'm a former police officer. I understand how guns work. This is a complicated kind of gun to work with. It's a cowboy gun. It's not like your regular revolver where you just crack open the cylinder and you can see what rounds are in there. You have to open a little hatch and then spin the cylinder. It's not an easy gun to work with. So let's start from the working backwards. The AD Dave Hall handed Alec Baldwin the gun and said, clean gun. Dave Hall is not authorized to handle weapons on a set. I, as the armorer, am the only one. I give a talk for safety every time I walk on a set, and I say, I will not go up to your camera and touch your camera. Do not touch my props, okay? Do not touch my weapons. These are not toys. They're fun, yeah, everybody likes when I walk on set and I've got the cool stuff, the AR-15s, but nobody is allowed to touch them. So we have that right there. This is a modified gun, okay? First of all, the armorer should have been there. These guns should not have been left out. John Eric Hexum, it's a story I tell every single set I walk on. He picked up a gun, said, I can't believe this director's making me stay late, put it to his head, pulled the trigger, and killed himself, okay? He was joking around, but these are not toys. These are absolutely not toys. So the armorer should have been there. Why it was loaded, I have no idea. There have been changes since John Eric Hexum. And then if we look at the gun itself, A common practice from some armorers, not all of them, is they use unmodified weapons. So when I say modified, I mean modified where you can't put a real bullet in there. You cannot put a real round if you want it, okay? Any weapon I bring on a set, it is modified so you can't put a round in there. It's my understanding, I have read somewhere that this gun was modified so it could fire quicker. So you could do kind of a quick draw scenario. You depress the trigger and you take the hammer back like you see in these old West movies where they hammer fire it. That made it easier to fire. So Alec Baldwin's story of it getting caught on his jacket is very plausible in my expert opinion. How'd the rounds get there? I have no idea. Hannah Gutierrez Reed, okay, was very inexperienced. If you can't tell the difference between a live round and a blank, you should not be an armorer. Plain and simple. Her fingerprints, I've read on in an article in Vanity Fair, her fingerprints are on at least one round. If you cannot tell the difference, I don't know what to say. You should not be an armorer. She should have shut down production right then and there. Okay, she should have shut down production right then and there, done an inventory of every round, and then production could resume. But you tell the production, look, I found a live round. We cannot go forward with anything involving firearms.
Right. So then, Scott, you're describing a situation where the negligence is, rests solely on the armorer. So then, Misty, why are we not seeing charges as it relates to negligence involving the armorer in this case? Why is it, just listening to the sequence of events for Scott, is it because Alec was a producer, and there lies some responsibility, unlike a kind of responsibility that an actor would have, simply because he's got dual roles here?
Right. So the theory against Alec Baldwin is the dual roles. There are, in fact, charges against Hannah Gutierrez Reed, who is the armor in this case. That trial is scheduled to go forward I think in a month from now. So it's coming up. And we might learn some more of these questions. But Scott brings up great points, because some of the other issues that are going to take front center stage in this trial will be her qualifications. Was she qualified in that role? And again, how those live rounds got on set is the unanswered question that we have not learned from what's out there in the public. And I would expect the defense of Alec Baldwin to really be focused on that. And look, it's going to be a blame game. It's going to be this person, that person, the other person, whoever is responsible to cut off that criminal culpability. On that front, Fred, you hit the nail on the head. You might want to sit in my seat as a lawyer. One of the questions is going to be, what were his role as a producer in the hiring of the staff assessing qualifications? He said he didn't have those responsibilities. That's going to be a very fact-sensitive analysis that will come into the courtroom.
It's very fascinating. Still so many questions. And Scott Kasha and Misty Marris, you did an awesome job guiding us through what are going to be some of those questions and some answers. But, still, I mean, it's anyone's guess, isn't it? Thank you so much. Appreciate it.